What you're looking for, you can find it here on the Hope TV. What you're looking for, what you're looking for, you can find it here on the Hope TV. What you're looking for, whoa, welcome to the Hope TV.
If he's never done anything for you, we worship you. I'm going to get to this word. Y'all just in a few minutes. Y'all excuse me for a minute. I got to get this out. I got to praise on the inside. Do me a favor. Just lift your hand toward heaven and tell him, lift your hand and say, we give you all. We give. We worship you. We worship you. Everybody. Come on, give him praise and give him glory. Just one more time. Just one more time. I want to hear y'all say it. Say it again. One more time. One more time. We give you all. Now come on and clap your hands and give him glory this morning. If you're watching online, clap your hands and give God the praise. He's worthy to be praised. Get your Bibles. Grace and peace, family, and welcome to the Bible cast of the House of Hope Atlanta. I'm so excited that you've tuned in today. It's going to be an amazing month. This is our Life Nights conversation, and we're just trying to bring life. We're talking about things that will impact life. So call a friend, call a relative, call an associate, call a neighbor, and let them know that a great conversation is getting ready to take place that's going to be empowering. So everybody who's tuned in today, whether it's Apple TV, Roku, if it's Twitch, Amazon, Fire TV, if you're tuned in through YouTube or Facebook or the various websites, however you've tuned in, we're grateful that you're part of our Hope Global family today. And listen, and if you're watching through a platform that will allow you to type into the chat, if this is your first time, just type the number 1 into that chat. And that way, members of our Hope Global family can appropriately welcome you to our community. So thank you for being a part. It's going to be an amazing conversation today. Please subscribe, comment, like, or share if the platform that you're viewing through will allow you to do that. When you do that, you help us with our algorithms and you help us to expand the platform. So if you can share this link with somebody, please do so now so they can get this daily dose of hope. Please, ma'am, please, sir. I'm excited. Back in the month of September, we started something, a great series that was entitled, Lord, I need answers. Lord, I got questions. And we ask those of you who tune in and those who attend our Life Nights on the first Wednesdays in person, we ask our community to send in questions about God, about faith, about life, theology, spirituality, whatever. And we receive so many questions. And so our team has compiled those questions. And each month we're attempting to answer your questions. And so this month we are in that same process, in that same vein as we started last week. We're talking about soul care this entire month. And I'm excited to have with us today Pastor Sharice Cross, member of our team, one of our pastoral staff members here, and we're going to be sharing this lesson today. Hey, Pastor, how are you doing?
I am well. Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm glad you're here, and thankful that you and I can actually communicate in basketball season. We normally don't. we normally don't do well.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we don't get along typically between October. We typically don't do well at all between October and June.
Go Warriors.
So I've been prayed up and I've been fasting so I could deal with her on the day. So, anyway, go LeBron. But anyway, we're here today, and you're such an amazing part of our team, and particularly what you do in terms of community affairs, community development. human relationships, counseling, just a host of things, outreach, and your heart for counseling, and you being a licensed counselor now. Me watching your process from getting out of the military to getting your counseling degree
Yes, sir.
and being licensed as a counselor. I want you to talk about that journey, just so the people know who they're talking to.
Thank you. It's been a journey too. It has. I got out of the military and thought I was going to actually be a nurse. I thought I was going to go to school to be a nurse.
Wow.
And so with my undergrad, I had a GI Bill, and I finished all my prerequisites to be a nurse. Wind up being transferred to Japan.
Wow.
And I could not finish my nursing degree because my GI Bill was running out at that time.
Wow.
At that time, you had a certain amount of time to use your GI Bill. So I switched over to health education.
Gotcha.
Got back to the United States and was in Charleston and thought, okay, I'm going to go back to be a nurse, or I'm going to do a master's in public health.
Wow.
I thought that's where I was going to go, and wind up transferring, or well, my husband was retiring, wind up transferring up here. And my goal was I'm going to go work at the CDC.
Wow.
But God had jokes.
Wow.
He said, no, ma'am. I said, I'll just come volunteer at the church, every once in a while, and I'm going to go work at the CDC. But God shifted, and really I just saw the need for our community, and it was a need of soul care. It really was.
Wow.
I didn't know what to call it at first, but I really do have a passion for people's souls and what's going on with us as we live this life, as we walk out our soul salvation. What does that look like daily? And so God pushed me toward going to school to do pastoral care. So I went through different schools and looking to see which school would work for me and I would be a fit for them. It became Mercer. Mercer had a dual master degree program that really fit for me. It's a Master of Divinity in Pastoral Care, and I received a clinical mental health counseling degree with the master's from there. And so with that, it just became a blessing for me to have that degree paid for. Come on. So if God gives the vision, he really does give the provision. He really does. So he opened that door for me.
Well, first, let me thank you for your service to our country, and that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And not only you've been serving, in our nation,
Yes, sir.
and protecting our nation, but now you're a soldier in the arm of the Lord.
Yes, sir.
And just what you have brought to this ministry in terms of partnerships, community collaborations, and resources, and just the sensitivity and an eye for the things that affect the community to build it. It's been amazing. And so I'm grateful to you for all you've done in leadership to help us here. And so those of you who tuned in, Pastor Reese Cross is just a great, great wealth of influence and information and a source of ministry. And we're proud to have her here. So we're talking about soul care. We started this conversation last week, and I wanted to I tried to differentiate between spirit, soul, and body.
Yes.
Last week, so people can understand the importance of what does that mean about the soul being the seat of passions, the seat of intellect, the seat of our feelings, our emotions, our mentality. Because I think a lot of times people don't draw a line of demarcation between spirit and soul.
Yes.
And so I tried to do that on last week. You want to add anything to that conversation?
I think you're right in that we confuse the two, our spirit and soul. We think they're the same. We'll say I'm vexed in my spirit when we're really, really talking about our soul.
Yeah.
So it's good that you drew that line, and today we'll talk more about what that looks like.
Yeah, you really can't have soul care if you don't know what the soul is, you
Yes.
know. And I think even when you go to the doctor and when you're not feeling well, they ask you what's wrong, what are the symptoms. And so if you can't get healed from something if you don't know how to describe the area of the pain. So I think it's so important that we're able to do that. And you've been talking, sharing a lot, and you gave me information in our pre-production meeting about just the role and the rise, rather, of anxiety and depression and stress
Yes.
in this current time. I want you to just jump in there because I think those statistics are necessary for the audience.
Yeah, so over 76.2 million people have a case of anxiety disorders globally. It's been an increase of 25.6% that has happened since the pandemic. And so what has happened is we have, as a global people, we have experienced anxiety.
Wow.
The pandemic was a traumatic experience that
Wow.
we're not fully aware of. And guess what? We won't even know for years to come the impact that happened to all of us. So, yes.
You know, when you think about the country, there are 300 million people in the United States, and out of if you just think about the sheer magnitude of those numbers, those percentages, 300 million plus people live in the United States, and 76 million around the world
Yes.
have, just think about that. I mean, globally have dealt with anxiety and depression and mental disorder. And we talked about the fears that coronavirus have created, and this word coronaphobia,
Yes.
yeah, and how that's even a fear and a phobia. There are over 3,000 different phobias, but now we got another
Yes.
phobia.
Yes.
You got fear of snakes, you got fear of heights, you got claustrophobia,
Yeah.
you got arachnophobia. All 3,000 different phobias. Now we got another one,
Yes.
and so talk about that, because I think a lot of people who may be watching may not know that they have coronaphobia.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I'm pretty sure I had coronaphobia for a while.
Yeah,
It is real.
right.
So we can stop ourselves from going places.
Yep.
So if you already had a fear
Yeah.
of just being sick or being ill,
Yeah.
it exacerbates.
Right.
So now we have a lot of people who may not go out.
Yes.
Agoraphobia, fear of being outside
Yeah.
because I may catch corona.
Yeah.
So it exacerbates us. Social anxiety. So
Yes.
I've already had an issue with this being around people socially. Now I have this fear of getting this disease and being outside. All that layered on top of each other. So many phobias that have been triggered because of this.
Yeah, I had a colleague who, during the height of coronavirus, went to visit his parents. His parents were, trying to encourage him to not come because he was out doing whatever. He went to visit his parents. Both parents ended up contracting coronavirus from him and passed away. And
Lord
just
have
the
mercy.
thoughts of that, like,
Yes.
even when I'm around my mother in love, she's in her 80s, and so when I'm traveling or doing things, it's like I've got more pause now, even in terms of not wanting to contract something to take it for her to get sick, and so that's another aspect of that whole coronaphobia, and a lot of young people don't think about that or care about it too much.
Yes. Yes.
When we talk about the soul and mental health, soul care, it carries the idea of the soul being in crisis.
Yes.
You want to talk about that?
Yes. So I wanted us to talk about this because sometimes we miss this opportunity when we talk about mental health
Yes.
and the stigma that it carries, in particularly in the African American community.
Okay.
We will come to church, ask you to pray for us, and that's fine. We do need prayer.
Right.
But sometimes there may be other biological or physiological or psychological factors that are impacting our soul,
Right.
such as depression, anxiety, and stress. And so sometimes these mood disorders
Yes.
impact us. And in particular, as we're coming into this holiday season,
Yeah.
wanted to talk about them because this is when a lot of them arise.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think sometimes it's great that you said that, because I remember talking to a counselor once, and he said sometimes we're quick to call everything depression. There's a difference between melancholy or
Yes.
a bad day. But this season for many people, this has been called the most depressing time of the year for people. How do you categorize melancholy versus depression? Because a lot of people say I'm depressed. How do you really know? That's why I like soul in crisis,
Yes.
because soul in crisis, it gives you the ability to see it all. Everything may not be depression,
Yes.
but the soul can be in crisis over an incident.
Absolutely.
Something may have happened today at work or with a
Yes.
child that leaves a soul in crisis. But I think that may be the overarching theme, and depression really could come under
Yes.
soul in crisis. Am I saying
Absolutely.
that correctly?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You're great. It's perfect because what happens is it's a triggering event. As we're going into the holiday, this may
Yes.
be my first holiday without my husband,
Yes.
my mama, my daddy, my child, whoever. So
Yes.
that's the triggering event
Yeah.
that causes me to feel this way.
Right.
Worry is the root, though, of depression.
Wow.
So I like to start with that.
Wow.
And then anxiety is the cousin
Wow.
of depression.
Wow. Worry
Yeah.
is the root.
The root of it, though,
Wow.
is worry.
Wow.
So-
Can you dig that a little more?
We start to ruminate, and it has to do with our thoughts. We'll start to makeup of event. We'll start to catastrophize, or we'll start to exaggerate, or we'll start to mind read. We'll start to make things bigger than they are,
Yeah.
or minimize them.
Yes.
We call that stinking thinking. It's called a cognitive distortion. When we just start to think of things, and we start to think wrong about those things. So we can make it big,
Yeah.
make it small. We can ignore it.
Yes.
We can blame other people.
Yes.
All of those things start to happen.
Wow.
So that starts to happen. When we talk about worrying, that is the root of it. It's some kind of disordered thinking that we start to have that's implanted in our head, and for whatever reason.
Right.
And then it goes into depression. But let me just dial back before that. Before we are depressed, we could be anxious. So that's why I say they're cousins.
Yeah.
Because it could start off with anxiety.
Yeah.
I could have been thinking about something that's not happening, but I've already forecasted it's going to happen.
Wow.
That's why we got to stay in the present. That's why we ask to be present
That's
and
so
be
good.
mindful. We'll talk about mindfulness kind of at the end, but being mindful is a state of staying where you are right now.
So worry and anxiety are relatives. Talk a
Yes.
little bit about anxiety,
Yeah.
because I'm hearing people mention that more.
Yes.
The Bible even talks in Philippians about be anxious for nothing.
Yes.
So it's somewhat of a connection. But I want people to know. I'm hearing more people talk about anxiety attacks.
Yes.
But how do you would describe, or how would you define anxiety?
It's excessive worry. There go that word again.
Wow.
Excessive worry. And like you said, the Bible talks about being anxious for nothing. Don't worry, why are we anxious? But because we're not slowing down. We're trying to get ahead of ourselves and even God. Really what happens,
Yes.
we try to get ahead and we're going to plan ahead, especially for us who think a lot
Right.
and stay up here a lot.
Right.
It can really be a problem.
Yeah.
But excessive worry and fear, which the pandemic did, again, that attributed to a lot of what was going on with us.
Yeah.
We looking at that death ticker number that they had on the news.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't see it anymore, but guess what? It's still in our mind. It's still
Absolutely.
embedded in us
Absolutely.
that, oh, wow, that could be me.
Yeah.
So it's that excessive worry and fear. That's just like generalized anxiety disorder.
Gotcha.
So then we have what we call panic attacks, which you mentioned.
Yeah.
That's when suddenly I freeze up. My heart may start racing.
Yes.
I may have a hot flash. I may feel warm.
Yeah.
It may feel that I freeze up and tense up, feel like something's bad's going to happen to me. That's panic attack. That falls under anxiety too.
Right.
So that happens. And then there may be the social anxiety. There may be OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, where I keep checking to make sure the door is closed. Or
Yeah.
I keep washing my hands.
Yeah.
I shake your hand, I go wash my
Yeah.
hands.
Monk.
I touch the door.
Watch a show called Monk on TV.
Come on.
Yeah. Monk had
Yes.
OCD. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then social anxiety disorder, we talked about that earlier. Just being around people.
Yes.
That's a anxious part for me. That's anxious. It gives me anxiety when I'm around people.
Wow.
So that happens.
Yeah. These are real good terms, I think, because sometimes I think being able to distinguish
Yes.
so that you know how to feel.
Yes.
You know, I think that's very, very important. That's some powerful things. They help kind of distinguish and how they are able to grow,
Yes.
and how one leads to the other. I think is very, very powerful. And I hope that you able to get those notes. As a matter of fact, if you want to get these notes, I forgot to tell you that earlier. You go to the outline resources section on the Bible study on our website. You can actually download these notes. So if you didn't do it already, go ahead and do that. If somebody's in the chat, if you can put the outlines in the chat, the link in the chat, so people can have the actual notes that we're going through. That'd be very, very helpful. We talk about the Bible. The Bible, I love it because it's filled with incidents and stories that kind of highlight the science of what you're talking about.
Yes.
You know, and one of the things we talked about, Elijah.
Yes, sir.
You know, Elijah having Elijah's soul
Yes.
being in crisis. You know, when he was running from Jezebel, and she basically, I mean, it really is, it's really interesting. He just had a very high moment in 1 Kings 18,
Right.
calls down fire from Mount Carmel,
Right.
and yet in chapter 19, he wants to die. You want to talk more about that? Elijah's soul being in crisis?
Absolutely. So as soon as he hears the news, he immediately goes and says he wants to die.
Yes.
Like you said, he went from a high. Guess what? We do the same thing. We'll have a high in life. Incident happens, and we're ready to feel like we're about to die.
Yes.
That's what I do love about Elijah's story, is that we can relate to it. It
Yes.
connects with me.
Yes.
So it was a triggering incident that happened, and automatically his mood shifted to a place where he was in crisis, to the point where he wanted to die.
Yeah. You know, all the things, the victories, I mean, I hate to put it in such morbid terminology,
Yeah.
but he conquered a lot of things.
Yes.
I mean, hundreds of things he conquered. People he conquered in the 18th chapter of 1 Kings. But in chapter 19, one person, one incident, one situation.
One.
And I think that's amazing how, if we look at our past, God has brought us through hundreds of things. So many things God has allowed us to be victorious over. And yet we run into chapter 19, and one thing can put us in a place
Yes.
where not necessarily where he was, not that he was suicidal,
Right.
but he wanted to die.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes there's a difference between wanting to kill yourself versus feelings of wanting to die. They're both horrible.
Yes.
But there have been times in my life where I really wanted to die. And you know, when the pain is so difficult and seems so insurmountable. And Elijah's the prophet of the Lord,
Yes.
but yet him being anointed to be a prophet, being called by God, did not exempt him from having humanity.
Yes.
So what do you say to people like that? I mean, the soul in crisis and how it affected him.
I think it depends on the person and where they are and what we need to do for you.
Yes.
Because if you're in a crisis where you may feel you have a suicidal ideation, which
Yes.
means that I feel like I want to die, but there's no means. I haven't given you a plan.
Yes.
So we know that you're not trying to immediately try to kill yourself.
Right.
Then we understand that, okay, we can work through that. But there are some people that we may need to get you assessed. You may need to go see somebody.
Right.
Because we don't want to leave you there. We don't want to leave you there. I think when people are in crisis to that point, you do need to see somebody. Make sure that you do go see a professional or talk with someone. What happens again in our community, though, we feel like I'm a failure. I'm
Yes.
weak. Maybe my faith is not strong enough,
Yes.
and I'm just not strong enough. I'm not good enough. And no,
Yes.
it's not that.
Yes.
There are resources and support out here that can help you during this time.
So whether somebody says I feel like I want to kill myself,
Yeah,
or whether somebody says I feel like I want to die,
yeah,
from a clinical perspective, those things are the same.
yes. And
Did y'all hear that?
yes,
So even your pastor, those moments in my life
yes,
when I felt like I wanted, like David once said, if I had wings of a dove, I'd fly away and
That's
be at rest.
right.
Just want to escape. It's escapism.
Yeah.
But I hope you heard that distinction. Just because you say you're not saying I want to kill myself, but you feel like, man, this is so painful. I just want to die. Even at that moment, they're akin. It's the same thing clinically.
And I, as a mandated reporter,
Yes.
I am going to, if I feel like you're in imminent harm to yourself or others, I need to then take the next action to make sure that you are safe.
Yes.
So if that's making sure that I can 1013 just means an involuntary hold for medical to make sure that you are okay.
Gotcha.
So if we need to 1013 you, that would be to get you some transport, to get you assessed by a psychiatrist, get you to the hospital so we can get you some help because we want you to live. That's
So if
the
you're
point.
watching me now, you've been in those moments where you felt like I just, whether it was a breakup, whether it was death,
Yeah.
no matter what, something debilitating, something painful, a horrendous experience. What Pastor Cross just told us is if you have ever felt like I just want to die,
Yeah.
don't minimize that.
No, please don't.
That's a case that you need to talk to a professional.
Yeah.
Pray to God, of course, but that you need to talk to a professional as well. That's really good stuff.
And they can dial 988.
988.
You can dial 988 at any time, even now. If you're feeling that way, you dial 988. There is a professional that will talk with you, and there is a team that they will send over to assess where you are and help you. So you
Nine-
can also dial 988 right now.
988.
Yes.
Not because when you think about Elijah and his soul, I love that soul in crisis.
Yes.
We don't know how long he was there with this. How long did that last? We do know it affected his eating patterns. He starts to reflect on, his own life, low self-esteem. He says, I'm not better than my fathers.
Yeah.
A lot of things were going on with him. And I've read, I remember doing something back when I was in seminary, how many of the prophets today would have been clinically diagnosed with depression
Yes,
or
sir.
bipolar disorder. And I think that's important that we normalize.
Yes.
That's why I want to deal with the normalization of it. That
Yes.
just because you think who you are in God does not mean that the soul can't be in crisis.
That's right. And I'm glad you mentioned bipolar. Bipolar, we talk about it. What happens
Yes.
is we use all these terms
Yes.
on the internet
Yes.
and we use them to other people
Yes.
or to call them names.
Yes.
When these are clinical terms that we use to diagnose people, to treat people. So
Yeah.
I really want us to not use those terms if
Yes.
we can,
Yes.
because they're not to other each other.
Right.
Oh,
That's
he's bipolar.
Gotcha.
That is a clinical term.
Yes.
And it falls under the umbrella of depression. And with bipolarism,
Bipolar falls on
it falls under the
Wow.
depression.
Never-
Under the umbrella of depression.
Wow, I never knew that.
Yes. So you can have extreme moods of mania,
Yes.
where you're just going, no sleep
Yes.
for days, no sleep, just flights of ideas, just going. Or there could be extreme depressive moods where you don't want to move.
Wow.
That's extreme polar opposites when it comes to being bipolar.
Wow.
So that falls under that umbrella as well.
Yeah.
But we use it just as a
that's true.
colloquialism, and it's not.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I've heard that in manic depression, but I think
Yes.
that's a great thing that you just said, that we don't lower these terms.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because it's very, very serious.
Yes.
Even in a joking manner.
Yes.
We need to find other terms to utilize, because these are clinical diagnoses
Yes.
that it has a major implications. That's very, very important.
Yes, sir.
So for the person, you talked about anxiety being a cousin of worry.
Yes.
How do we manage anxiety?
So with anxiety, we want to slow down, and think about actually what we're thinking about.
Okay.
Sometimes it's a thought, again, that is something that we have distorted.
Yes.
So is it true? Is it me, or is this thought true?
Okay.
So let me slow down. And then the thought is probably connected to a feeling and or an emotion.
Yeah.
I need to check those feelings. I always tell people, feelings are not indicators, they're fact. They're not facts, they're indicators. So first I need to check to see that feeling that I'm feeling, is it real? And what is it about? So I need to be curious about that, slow down, figure out if that feeling is a fact or not.
So let me ask this question. So first of all, it's time. Slow down.
Yes.
Slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down. But you mentioned two things I want to just a lot of meat right there. You said thoughts versus feelings. I want to make sure I communicate this properly, heard you correctly.
Yes.
So the thought creates the feeling, not the feeling creates the thought.
Either way.
Wow.
So it could go either way.
That's great.
And I'm glad you mentioned that.
Okay.
So we're getting into sort of like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. This is where we slow down and we talk about our thoughts a lot. That's about cognitive, how we process and think.
Okay.
So you can think or you can feel.
Either one.
Either one. So
Wow.
and they can be interchanged. I can see a dog
Yes.
and think the dog's going to bite me. I
Yes.
feel scared.
Yes.
Or I can feel scared because I see the dog and I think he's going to bite me. I don't know if I said it too quick,
Say
but
it again.
it flips.
So you can
Either
think.
way.
You can think
Yes.
and then see a dog. And then
Yep, the thought.
and then you get scared because the thought is the dog is going to bite you. Or you can feel because you see the dog. And the feelings after seeing the dog makes you think the dog is going to bite you.
Yes.
Did y'all hear that?
Hope
So
you
it's
got
almost
it.
like a tongue twister, but I think that's a very important
Yes.
distinction, because there have been times I have felt something
Yes.
and my feelings, and I heard people say, "Oh, I just feel bad,"
Yeah.
or "I just feel like," or or something told me. And people who are discerning, you know, I've talked to women. I get a bad feeling, and then later something comes to validate that feeling,
Yeah.
or or because I feel bad, I also can feel bad, and there's no thought behind it. It's just now I have the expectation that something bad is going to happen. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
So, but slowing down helps you to determine if it's my thought
Yes.
that's producing the feeling,
Yes.
or if it's the feeling that's producing the thought,
Yes.
or if it's just a feeling without a thought.
Right. And is that what's causing my anxiousness? So anxiousness it could come from that. So it's something that's triggering that. So
Yeah.
when we slow down to figure out what's going on,
Yeah.
then we can start to work on that.
Yeah.
We're going to work through mindfulness when we get to these areas of anxiety. So we slow down and we start to really be mindful in those practices.
Wow.
So, yes.
That's did y'all hear that? I hope somebody's typing that if you're watching through the chat, because that's a very, very, those distinctions are very, very important, because
Yes.
to be able to think it through, to process it, will help you to really get some type of conclusion from it, or know how to deal with it, to find out what the source is. I saw you mentioned something here about Martha in the
Yes.
Gospel of St. Mark chapter 10,
Yeah.
relative to life, anxiety, overall well-being. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So Martha was concerned about making sure the house was good. She's like, make sure everything's set up. She's like, Jesus, I mean, you gonna tell Mary to help us or what?
Wow.
And Jesus is like, Mary has chosen the good thing. She's chosen the right thing. She's
Wow.
okay. But you are concerned about getting everything else together.
Wow.
And some of us are like that.
Wow.
We're trying to make sure we get everything together instead of focusing on that one thing that God has really called us to do.
Wow.
We're everywhere
Wow.
except for where he has called us to do and to be.
So Martha should have slowed down and just enjoyed the moment with the Lord,
Yeah.
and to be present
Present.
in that moment. But she can't be present in the moment because she's thinking, house not clean. I
Come
got to
on.
cook this, got to cook that.
I've been there.
Everything else other than what was most important at that moment.
And a lot of us going to do it this holiday
Wow.
and be burnt out before we get to the table. Be mad
Wow.
because the food is cooked. It is ready and I'm mad. I'm pissed off because I did all this and y'all don't even
Wow.
mad on Thanksgiving.
Wow. Wow. Not able to really enjoy and be in that moment. So people deal with a variety of stresses, and what are some healthy ways that you encourage people to deal with stress?
So stress, another area that's connected to anxiety.
Okay.
All of these are cousins. They really
Wow.
are. They're all in the same family.
Okay.
So what we do is we have several stresses. We have acute stress, which is like our regular eustress, acute stress. Those two.
Eustress?
Eustress.
That's EU.
That's-
That means good stress.
That's right. Eustress.
EU. That's
yes.
good in Greek.
right.
EU, good stress, or acute stress.
Acute stress.
Okay.
Those are like our normal stressors. But when it comes to chronic stress,
Okay.
that is where we get in trouble. That's where inflammation can even rise up in our bodies.
Yes.
We start getting depressed and anxious because we continually worrying. We're putting too much on our bodies
Okay, let's-
physically as well.
I want you to stop for a second, because I
Okay.
just want to make sure, because when you say stress,
Yes.
all right, from my perspective or many others, eustress or acute stress.
Yes.
That very phrase or word in Greek, EU, means good, like eulogy.
Yes.
EU, or eulogy, or euthanasia. Good death, good word. Eustress,
Yeah.
acute stress. For me, as a somebody who's always into semantics and linguistics, I mean, what's an example of a eustress or an acute stress? I mean, because
Okay.
I got some ideas about it, but when I say stress, nothing about stress is good. So,
Right.
but I have learned that some stresses that there can be a good stress.
Yes.
So I want to make sure that distinction is
good.
clear. You got it, you know this, but
Yes.
those others who are a little slower like me, won't you
No.
slow it down and break it down? So
You're fine.
give those who are watching, because many of us stress. I want all stress gone.
Right.
But what Dr. Cross is telling us today is that's such thing as a good stress or an
Yes.
acute stress.
Yes.
So what would that be?
So eustress would be you're getting ready to prepare for the game. We in our football season, basketball season, all
Yeah.
that season. We're prepared for that first game. The game's about to start. I'm keyed up. I'm a little tense. That's a eustress. I'm
Good.
getting ready for that. I'm prepared for an exam. I'm about to take my test. I'm keyed up. I'm ready. But that's a eustress.
Gotcha.
That's what that is.
Gotcha.
Acute stress, I'm running, could be moving around, same thing, but it's your body. We do something called a stress test, actually, at the hospital. They want to check your heart. They want to see how your heart operates as it continues to incline. The treadmill continues to go faster, and it continues to incline. That's what would be considered eustress as well. So they're checking how do your body respond under pressure.
Gotcha.
That's what that's doing. Those are good stresses for you.
And now let's go to the opposite of that.
Now, the opposite would be something like a chronic stress or traumatic stress.
Okay.
Because stress is our body going into survival mode, if you will, right?
Okay.
So we have an autonomic nervous system that's kicking in. You've heard of the fight or flight.
Yeah.
So if our body is in continual fight or flight mode,
Yes.
then we're developing we have cortisol. That's what's coming up in our body. That's that adrenaline rush we feel. That's
Yeah.
called cortisol.
Okay.
If that's up all the time,
Gotcha.
that then becomes chronic in our body. That then inflames us. That's where we start to get these diseases, diabetes, all the other things that happen in life, cancer, all those kind of things. Those can start to be a part of our lives if we continue with that kind of stress,
That's
that
good.
chronic or traumatic stress.
So acute stress is not a bad thing. That's the football game, taking a test. That's me when I got to preach.
Yes.
That's the thought of running the traffic and well, not only running traffic, right?
That's acute stress.
That's acute stress.
Yes.
But the chronic traumatic stress is
Yeah.
when it's cortisol is in your body.
Elevated.
It's elevated.
Continuously.
Fight or flight. You're constantly on the edge.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that, and I don't know if you heard the word she said. That's when that cortisol is constant in your body, diseases.
Diseases. Yes.
Okay, is diseases or diseases that it can create in your body. So how do you cope with stress?
So there are ways that you can cope with stress. We can first prioritize what needs to be done. So we're going to talk about that. Then we got some tips that we're going to give
Great.
at the end to talk about how we're going to cope with stress,
Yes.
how we're going to cope with anxiety,
Okay.
and even depression during the season. But
Great.
first thing we can do is prioritize our days. We can start to slow down
That's good.
because oftentimes we're just going. We
That's
have
good.
a lot going on, but we
That's
have
so
to
good.
decide how can I prioritize what's going on, especially as we get into this holiday season.
That's so good.
We got to start prioritizing what's important and what's not.
Yeah, what do I have to do?
Yeah.
And some who are perfectionists, and I got to, I talk about it. I've been talking to a lot of pastors. Sometimes we impose, and pastors and leaders, we impose deadlines on ourselves
Yes, sir.
that are not based on any other external factor or variable. We just have these, I want to get this done by this time. I got this vision. Well, and the closer I get to the time, it's not manifesting.
Right.
Now I got acute stress and the cortisol in my body, but it had nothing to do with anything divine, or it's just something that you placed on yourself. Maybe
Yes.
somebody who wants to be married by a certain time.
Yes.
And I got this picture of myself, and I put this in my mind of what I'm going to be. I'm getting close to that. Well, who told you? Who gave you that deadline? So sometimes unrealistic deadlines and
Absolutely.
self-imposed stipulations that we added to ourselves that God never added, nor does society have, nor does anyone in your family or your occupation have of you. Sometimes it's unrealistic and superimposed time restraints and time
Yes.
constraints on yourself that can be problematic.
Yes.
And so it can affect. So when you talk about soul care from a long-term perspective, what's the importance of soul care?
Oh, goodness. Because this soul is going with us until we meet in glory with our Lord.
Yeah.
We need to take care of this soul.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that we are matriculating through these life stages, which
Yes.
is going to have effects on us on their own. As we're aging,
Yes.
we are having decreased hormonal levels.
Yes.
Our bodies may be shifting as it relates to how they move.
Yes.
So a lot of things are happening. So we need to be able to honor and love and cherish and take care of these souls as we're going through all of these different areas in our life. So we're going to need it. We're going to need to make sure that we're honoring this body.
Yeah, I like
And
I,
so,
I
as we're
like
going
some
through.
things that we talked about that we put, about cultivating gratitude
Yes.
and a positive mindset,
Yes.
and how gratitude can help to manage the soul, help
Yes.
the soul to be better. Self-reflection, introspection, practicing forgiveness, letting go of resentments,
Yes.
other things that can be done for your soul.
Yes.
If you don't do it for them, do it for your soul.
Yes.
And then nurturing meaningful connections and relationships. So when you got good relationships, spending time with people who are good for your soul, good for
Yes.
your mental health.
Yes.
People in your life. There are also people in your life who can be adverse to your mental health. So spending time with family and friends, just laughter. Some of the things that you put down that I think I try to appropriate in my life.
Yes.
But then you have a list that I want to share, and that I think is very, very important. It's on the outline. We're gonna make a graphic out of this and put out to social media because I think it's very, very powerful. You called it 10 ways to protect our souls from stress and anxiety during this season. I want you to take that and just run with that right quick.
Yes. Okay. The first is prioritize self-care. Prioritize self-care. Make sure you set aside time for activities that nourish your mind, your body, and your soul. Okay? We are doing everything for everybody else. Make sure you take time for yourself this season and beyond. So all we're doing is we're just setting the framework really for 2024.
That's great.
We're setting it up because we got greater works to do, y'all. I'm believing it. So go ahead and start now. If you haven't been doing it, prioritize your self-care. Set realistic expectations. Pastor just talked about it. We have all of these grandiose expectations that we put on ourselves when I need to just not put all that pressure on myself. It's okay. I am enough. We always say it, but do
Wow.
we believe it? I am enough.
Wow.
If I'm just sitting here, I'm okay and I'm enough. Okay, so take time to make realistic expectations. Do those kids need every single toy, present, all of that stuff? Grandmama,
My goodness.
you're on a fixed income. How about we do gift exchange
Wow.
versus getting everybody a gift this year?
Wow.
How about that? The economy is tight.
Yes.
There are things going on. Let's relax on all the gift giving. How about we do gift exchange? Everybody do one gift. That'll take some pressure off of you. Okay? Maintain healthy boundaries. This is very good, very important. Boundaries are for you. I know we say we're putting them to protect our mental health. It's not about me making a wall for you.
Right.
It's about me making a space where I can fulfill the capacity of who I am. And I can operate in my full capacity because I've established this boundary for myself of how I can do that.
Yes.
So that's what we need to do. Practice gratitude. We talked about that already. Having an attitude of gratitude. There's so many things to be. I'm just thankful to be alive,
Absolutely.
clothed, and in my right mind. That if nothing else, there's somebody out here who's not.
Absolutely.
So we need to be clothed. There are
Yeah.
people right now sleeping under the bridge.
That's so true.
And it's cold outside. So we need to be grateful, y'all. Stay active. Moving the body. I like to go walk at the park. It does something for me. Getting that sun on you. We didn't talk about SAD, but I want to mention seasonal affective disorder, which you did mention. Seasonal affective disorder, it comes during the season when the days are shorter and we have more darkness.
Wow.
That starts to impact our minds and our moods. And so we want to make sure that we get sunlight whenever you can. If you can get outside, if not, get you a light. There's some light therapy. You can go to Amazon, look at light therapy, look up light therapy. You can get little lights. That's going to help with your mood. But stay active. When you move, that's like natural Prozac. You work out, you feel better. Why? Because your endorphins are moving. So make sure that you're moving. Make sure we're moving. That helps for our mental health. Support. Seek support. So if you need some help, talk to your family and friends that can help you,
Yes.
not depress you. Talk to those that can help you, or talk to a professional, therapist or a counselor. Limit social media and TV consumption. I
My
want to
Lord,
mention
my
this.
Lord, my Lord.
Oh gosh.
Please mention it.
Limit social media consumption. The social media is doing something to our minds, you all. We have to make sure that we are being a steward over what we're putting in our eyes, our ears, how we're scrolling. There are many things that are being shown to us when our soldiers and when we come back from war, we have seen things that have forever changed us. So you remember you hearing about the soldiers that have come back from
right.
war, shell shock, what we now call PTSD.
Right.
We now experience that by what we see on the screens, what we see on our TVs and on
Yes.
our phones. We should not, our minds are not made to watch carnage day in and day out. Watch
Wow.
babies with their heads blown off, people
Wow.
dismembered and all. We're not meant to see that every single day.
Wow.
It's a lot happening. Yes, it
Yes.
is. And war has been happening forever. And we are so hurt by what's happening. Well, we need to shut off some things
Yes.
and just see God's face. So we can't ingest all that. What that's called is vicarious trauma. You start to ingest all of that.
Yes.
You can't sleep. You having nightmares. All of that. That's because it's a lot that you're ingesting. Things on the internet, there's some things that we don't need to be looking at either.
Absolutely.
We don't need to be looking at it. So limit that if you can. How about you take a fast from it?
Mm.
You may need to fast during this season. Practice stress management techniques. And so you asked earlier, what can we do? Deep breathing exercises.
Yes.
Take some time to breathe in. We have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe in, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out. That's just one. Journal, listen to music, take a walk, engage in some meditation. Meditation is biblical. We act like it's demonic. It is not.
Absolutely. Amen.
It's biblical.
Amen.
Create meaningful connections. Make sure you are with people who nurture you and you nurture them. Make sure you're connected with those people. That also helps build your soul up. And then give yourself permission to rest. That's the last but not least. Give yourself permission to rest. That's also biblical.
Absolutely.
We don't do enough resting. We are a go culture. We got to go. We need to rest. This body, this temple, this spirit, and our soul needs rest.
So I mean, we said so much here, and it was almost impossible to cover all
Yes.
this in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And we're nearing that time. And we're going to continue this conversation tomorrow. Deal with theology in our
Yes.
Zoom. You're going
Yes.
to go to the Life Nights conversation, and Pastor Cross is going to share with you how you can do that tomorrow.
Yes.
Too blessed to be stressed, the myth and the truth. That's tomorrow night at 7 on Zoom.
Yes.
And then on Monday, my anxiety and stress is ruining my relationship. It's gonna be a great conversation on Zoom on Monday, and then Tuesday, too blessed but depressed. So
Wow.
those are the next 3 Zooms, and they can, if you want to be a part of that, you can go to
You can go to lifenightszoom.com. Go log on there. And if you have questions, make sure you submit your questions, because we will be answering all of those questions live during those live talks. So please.
lifenightszoom.com.
Yes.
lifenightszoom.com to get information. Now, this week we got some homework for the people because
Yes.
we had so much. I hope you guys were blessed by it. Submit those questions. But what kind of homework do you want to leave the people with today?
For if you're dealing with depression, we want you to journal your thoughts and your emotions. So earlier you heard me, I said emotions. Sometimes when I ask how you feeling, you're going to give me a thought word versus a feeling word.
Wow.
And we'll put up a feeling.
That's
I think
good.
we'll put up a feeling wheel
That is
so
so-
we can start
That
using
is
our
so
feeling
good.
words.
That is so good.
Yeah,
That's good.
we do that. So we're going to put up a feeling wheel too. We'll add that. Seek support for therapy or counseling if you need it. Practice self-compassion and self-care. We do not treat yourself like you would your homeboy or your homegirl or your best friend. What would you tell them? What would you tell them? You would not be mean to them. You would not push them. You wouldn't call them names. Don't do it to yourself. Treat yourself nice and engage in activities that bring joy and fulfillment. Anxiety. We just talked about deep breathing. We'll put some more. We'll talk about it. I think me and Pastor Carner are doing some stuff this week, and we're going to be talking about some ways that we can do some soul talk. So deep breathing exercise and relaxation techniques. We'll be talking about those. Challenging negative and irrational thoughts. So again, I talked about thinking about what you're thinking about. Challenge that thought. Is it real? Is it rational? Is it true? We also think what did the Bible say? Think of those things that are lovely, pure, honest, and true.
Yes.
Same thing.
Yes.
Same thing. Seeking professional help again, if you need to. Stress, implementing stress management techniques. So what we want to do is be meditating. We talked about earlier, and then being mindful, being present, and then prioritizing what needs to go first. So those are ways that we can do that. Make sure you're building a network. And then, of course, always come to your faith, your community of faith. This is a place where you can also reset when it comes to how you're feeling with your soul.
My family, what a great conversation. On the outline, all the homework is there on the outline. I want you to get that, download it, screenshot it.
Yes.
And I want you to don't just be a hearer. I want you to appropriate this in your life. You know, as I said to you last week, the same way you have a routine to brush your teeth.
Yes.
Same way you have a routine for your skin care. Same way you have a routine for how you're going to wash your hair, what kind of shampoo, what kind of conditioner you utilize. We have routines for everything else, right? For our teeth, for our hair, for our skin. But what about your soul? What is your daily routine? We have a routine for eating every morning. We eat breakfast. We eat this. We eat cereal. We eat oatmeal. We have all these. We drink water. What is this? What is your daily regimen for the soul, so the soul can be cared for in the same way you care for your hair, your skin, your teeth, your body? The soul needs a regimen. So she gave us some great information that you can utilize to make it a part of your daily practice. To don't just care for your soul once it's in crisis. That's another thing. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, we only attend to the soul once it's in crisis.
That's good.
So just because we're talking about soul care, we're talking about soul care, but you don't have to wait till your soul. Maybe caring for the soul daily
Right.
will keep the soul from being
Absolutely.
in crisis. So don't wait till your teeth starts hurting and start brushing them. You know what I mean? Take care of them and some preventive actions. So I hope you were blessed by Pastor Reese Cross. You've been amazing as always, and I'm grateful for all that you do to help us
Bless you, sir.
to get this information out to people that can help them. And so many scriptures from Philippians 4 to thinking, to Elijah, to Martha, to David. So much that we've shared with you today, and we hope that you're blessed by it. Now listen, let me tell you what you can do. 1 Peter 5 says, cast your cares upon the Lord, for he cares for you. And Jesus says, if you come unto me, I'll give you rest. And so today, those of you who don't have a relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ, we love to share our faith with you. And if you're interested, you can text the word salvation to the number 678-201-1351, and someone will share with you how you can accept Christ. Or maybe you need a community of faith to do life with, to grow with. You're not alone. We're here to serve with you. Whether you're in Atlanta, Alaska, Decatur, Dubai, Georgia, or Ghana, this community here is here to serve you. And so if you want to connect with us, text the word connect to the number 678-201-1351. Or lastly, if you just want somebody to pray with you, sometimes life can get difficult. Sometimes our souls can be in crisis, but you're not alone. You're not alone. If you want prayer, text the word prayer to the number 678-201-1351. And lastly, if you've been blessed by the ministry, this almost felt like a Bible study counseling session. You got great information today, and you want to be a blessing to the ministry to help us to ensure that people can walk in favor and walk in victory and walk in peace. And you believe in what we're doing here in this ministry, and you are a member, you didn't give on Sunday, you're a supporter, and you want to be a blessing to the ministry financially. Several ways you can give. Text to give. It's on the screen right now. You can give by Cash App. You can give through Zelle. You can give through the website. Or you can send through the P.O. Box. P.O. Box 361-499, Decatur, Georgia 30036. There's also a QR code on the screen that you can scan that QR code with your phone. It'll give you the pertinent methods, all the pertinent ways you can give. And then lastly, if you just want to log onto the website to get the information there, click the giving links to follow the prompts accordingly, you can do so. Listen, my friends, our time is far spent. But remember, you want to continue this conversation with us. Go to lifenightszoom.com. You can be part of the conversation on tomorrow, November the 9th, then November 12th, and November 13th. to keep getting the information so you can be what God wants you to be. I mean, that's November 13th and 14th. So it's November 9th tomorrow, then November 13th, November 14th, it's Monday, and then the 13th is Monday, and the 14th is Tuesday. So make sure that you get the information for November 9, November 13, and November 14. Go to lifenightzoom.com. Listen, friends, we got to leave you now. Our time is far spent. But as always, remember this. If you'll be good to God, then God will be good to you. Until next time, take care of your soul. God bless you.